presence of God, like we would look at a pastor today, like you would hope your pastor would be like that. You know, so when Jesus was talking about them in such a way that it sort of showed that they were wearing a mask, that they were wearing something to cover up things that weren't so holy, that weren't so good, then people were surprised, people were shocked, people were stunned, and the Pharisees were mad. They were angry. Right? Now the Pharisees wore many different kinds of masks, and on one occasion the Pharisees came to Jesus wearing their mask of flattery and humility. And they came to Jesus and they noticed something when they were doing this. They noticed something unique about Jesus. We'll get to that later. I just want to hit this passage one more time. It's about paying taxes to Caesar. Now the Pharisees went out and laid plans to trap Jesus in his words, and they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you're a man of integrity, and that you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. You aren't swayed by men because you pay no attention to who they are." The Pharisees said, "Jesus, you do not wear any masks." Right? I mean, that's what they're saying about him. Right? And if, though it's ironic, it's actually true, isn't it? You tell us in honesty, because you're not hiding anything, you're not wearing any mask. Tell us then, what is your opinion? Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But Jesus, knowing their evil intent, said, "You hypocrites, why are you trying to trap me?" Now, hypocrites is a very interesting word. Do you know what hypocrite, the root word of that means? It means play actor. To be a hypocrite is to be a play actor. My wife is a Russian speaker, and she said the Russian word for hypocrite actually means to put on another face. Isn't that interesting? I mean, that's just like wearing a mask, right, isn't it? And so in Greek and Roman theater of the day, they all wore masks. So like you were trying to become another person. You were trying to present yourself as another person. That was what the whole idea. So Jesus is saying, you hypocrites, you play actors, you mask wearers. Right? That's what he's saying. I can see through your masks. I can see who you really are. You're not fooling me. I know what you're really like. And the Pharisees were enemies of Jesus, pretending to be his friends towards him. But they weren't very good at it, were they? Because he could see. He could see right through that. Now, there's another person that was very good at it. Was very good at it. All throughout Jesus' ministry, this person was part of the inner circle of Jesus' disciples, of his people that were following him, and they trusted him with the money bag. They trusted him with everything. So this guy, everybody thought of that he was this terrific guy, you know. But he was a mask wearer. He was in disguise all the time, and his name was Judas Iscariot. He fooled nearly everyone. Now there was another friend of Jesus who also wore a mask, and this friend was arguably Jesus' best friend, and he actually claimed the title for himself. In Luke 22, he says, "Lord, I'm ready to go with you to prison, to death." But Jesus could see through his mask, and Jesus answered, "I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times that you know me." Now, Peter wasn't nearly the mask wearer that Judas was. While Judas fooled all but one, Peter fooled only one. They both wore masks. They both Jesus' enemy and Jesus' friend. They both wore masks. Now, Peter was only tricky enough to fool one person. He could hardly fool anyone, really. Even complete, perfect strangers could see through his mask and know that he was Jesus' friend. When he was saying, like, "I don't know the man," he goes, "I bet you did. You got that Galilean accent. I can tell, you know, that you knew him." But Jesus saw through Peter's mask, and he saw through Judas' mask as well. And when they saw, because Jesus saw through their mask, all of a sudden they were able to see through their mask too. And when they saw through their mask, when they saw what Jesus saw, all of a sudden, perhaps for the first time, they saw through their own mask, and the impact of what they saw was devastating to them. When they saw themselves the way Jesus saw them, the way they truly were, Peter cried, and Judas killed himself. Peter was a strong, grown man. He was a big fisherman. He was a tough guy. You know, but he cried like a baby. And Judas was even more upset than that. He couldn't live with what he saw. He couldn't live with his true self. And so he took his own life. Peter only fooled one person with his mask, and that person was himself. His heart broke to discover the truth about himself, and that he was not loyal to death, to Jesus the way he thought he was, the way he claimed. He was really weak and afraid, and underneath his mask, that he had denied and betrayed his best friend. Judas fooled everyone else, but not Jesus. He fooled all but one. Jesus knew how complete his depravity was. And that for months, he was dipping into the wages. He was dipping into the purse of the group for his own sake. And for a month's wages, for 30 pieces of silver, he was willing to betray his teacher, his friend, the Savior of the world. Seeing this, Judas couldn't take it. Knowing Jesus knew it too, he couldn't live with himself anymore. Now, do we wear masks? That's the question you got to ask yourself. Are you wearing a mask? Do we hide from God? Do the masks that we wear, do they hide us from God? They hide us from the people around us. They hide us from our fellow employees, our bosses, our church, our spouses, our families, even from ourselves, maybe. When the Pharisees told Jesus he was a man of integrity, they were saying he wore no masks. And that was the unique thing about Jesus, that he wore none. He had a complete integrity. But do we? Do we have integrity? Are we as we appear? Maybe especially to ourselves. Are we real? And that's the question. Are we real? Now, some time ago, I applied to be a chaplain in the National Guard, and as I went on my National Guard review board, I was standing outside with two other guys that were trying to be officers in the military, and they were coming before this board to be accepted or rejected based on their credentials and different things. And I had not been in the military before, so I was just kind of going, gee, what's it like, And one guy said, well, they're going to ask you, questions, like what's your biggest failure and how'd you deal with it? I was like, what do you say? What do you say to that? And so I was, I was pacing around, kind of wondering what I was going to do, because I wanted something bad, but not that bad. You wanted to say like, oh well, I tried to play cello, but I was really bad. And I worked really hard until I was only awful instead of terrible. Something like profound like that. But not too bad. You know what I mean? We don't want to share our real selves, do we? We don't want to reveal too much. We don't want to tell people the deeper part of maybe the darker, uglier parts of our story, do we? The parts of our hearts that we want to keep because we don't think we're going to be liked, accepted, or loved, if we reveal those things. Now it goes back to Genesis chapter 3. What did Adam and Eve do after they sinned against God? They tried to hide, didn't they, in the bushes, and they tried to cover themselves with, the rumor is fig leaves. I don't know how fig leaves is happening. I don't know how it works for you, but that's what they were trying to do. And they also were trying to blame somebody else. They were trying to cover their own culpability by blaming somebody else, by putting it on somebody else, right? So they're trying to cover themselves by misdirecting the judgment onto somebody else. Right? They didn't want to own up to their own responsibility. When they hid themselves away, their intimate relationship with God was broken. They separated themselves. Because of their own sin, then they separated themselves. So their action had a reaction within themselves. And God came to them and said, what have you done? Did they display integrity and own up to it and go, Lord, it was me. George Washington, I cut down the cherry tree. It was me. Is that what they did? No. They didn't. They blamed, they covered, they excused, they hid themselves. Now you and I, because we're children of Adam, we tend to do that too. But we've got to take off our mask. We've got to take an honest look at ourselves. Because we're master pretenders. We're play actors. Yes, even us. We're hypocrites. We're hypocrites. So don't be offended when people say, people go to church, they're all hypocrites. You can be like, that's right. That's right. That's us. But come on in. Come on in. You're going to fit. You're going to fit perfect. Because you're just like us. Because everybody is a hypocrite. Okay? Everybody is a hypocrite. Tell them to join us. Okay? We don't have Christian integrity. We don't. None of us do. None of us is without sin. And but sometimes we can shine. There's a lovely story about a pastor who boarded a bus on Monday morning, and he paid for his fare, and he got his change, and he went and sat down, and then he realized that he had been given too much money, you know. And some people might have sat down and gone, "Lord, thanks for your provision," you know. But he's like, "Nah, that's not right. I got to give this money back to this guy." So at the next stop, he went up there and he gave the money back to the guy. He said, "You know, I'm sorry, but it seems to me that you gave me back too much money. You made a mistake. I don't want you to get in trouble. You know, make sure here's your money back." And the bus driver said, "No, Pastor, I didn't make a mistake." He goes, "I was in your sermon last night, and when you were preaching about honesty, I just wanted to see how you would handle this situation." So he handled it well. So you can shine sometimes. We can shine sometimes. People are watching us as Christians. We're watching to see if they know you're a Christian. You got that, "Honk if you love Jesus" bumper sticker on, or whatever. You're wearing your little cross or whatever you're doing. People are watching you. You are an ambassador of Jesus Christ. So how are we carrying that message? People are hoping we're going to slip up. They're hoping we're going to blow it. And then they can hang their doubts and their unbelief on us, on the way we've acted. Now, this is a big responsibility, because can we really? It's really hard to be a godly person on the outside and have that person be the godly person that's on the inside too, not just a mask that we're putting on. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to live with integrity, or live a life free of duplicity? I have come to believe that the problems in the world come down to the fact that we just want to be loved. We just want to be loved, and we're afraid that if we reveal ourselves, our true selves, that we're not going to be loved. Right? Is that how you feel? Is that where you're at? If people knew the real me, they'd never love me, because I'm no good. Because I know I'm no good. I'm not like my mask. We feel unlovable when we don't want to put in the hard work. It's really hard work to be the person beneath our mask. To make the sacrifices, to deny ourselves, to put others first. We don't even want to look under our masks to see what's under there. To see what's under there. It's scary, to actually address the thing, that real unlovable us that's under there. We hope people will be fooled by our mask, and if they're being fooled, then why should we change? This is working. It's working pretty good for me, But we need to look beneath our masks. We need to address whatever it is in ourselves. We don't want to be whitewashed tombs like the Pharisees, with dead man's bones inside but looking good on the outside. We don't want to be like that. Many of us would really like, how many of you would really like to be the person that you portray to others? Anybody? Wouldn't you? But we're not this perfect person. We want to think. We want others to think we are. It would be nice. It would be wonderful. It's the ideal. That's what we want, to be the same person on the inside and the outside. Somebody was talking to somebody. I think I was talking to Rick, and he was telling me about. He was talking to somebody in a chaplain program or something, and asked him, what are you working on? He goes, "I'm working on being one person." And I was like, wow. Rick was like, wow. And I was just like, yeah, that's it, isn't it? To be one person, not to be different people to different people, but just to be the same person all the time. But how can we do it? How can we change? How can we be different than we have been? How can we stop mask wearing and just be the person? Seeing our shame, seeing our hurt, seeing our loneliness, our desire to be loved and accepted. What